Firstly, I'm back. Unlike last time, I'm actually back. Anyways, Lewis and Violet, two of the most important characters in the final season. They've been presented in that way. Of course, things didn't go as planned, or the way we thought. Episode 3 was just a dark, messed up, depressed part for both Violet and Lewis. To this day, people still complain about why did Violet do whatever she did in that prison. To this day, people still complain about chips. But today, we're specifically talking about their backstory, one that brought them to the school, one that was kind of overshadowed by everything that happened later. We'll go through each and we'll see how it goes from there. But before we begin, let's get this video to 500 likes. And without further ado, let's do this. To start off, we'll talk about Lewis and his backstory. Lewis has been a fan favorite. Really don't need to explain anything about him, since we all know Lou. Good old Lou. If you choose to save Lewis in episode 2's ending, regardless of whether you romance or friend zone, his interaction with Clementine is interesting in episode 3 nonetheless. But let's focus specifically on his backstory. You see, we all wanted to know why and how did he end up in the boarding school. We've had theories like, because he loves music and wanted to learn more, stuff like that. Of course, we didn't know about his dark past, and that's what we learned in episode 3. When we were doing our party thingy, Lewis mentioned that he's gonna tell his backstory and how and why did he end up here. I don't think I have to repeat what he said, but in short, he wanted to become a musician. But his dad kinda disagreed and told him that you can't be rich and happy. So in order to teach his dad a lesson, he did mess up stuff and caused a divorce between his parents, since his dad was rich as frick. And then later, he told them why he did whatever he did, which brought him to this school. It's really disturbing, and if you let your mind think about it, even more in the details, ugh. Of course, he's always been like this. He did that messed up thing, but he's changed. And we could clearly see that change from episode 1 all the way to episode 2. The reason he's been sent here was obviously to learn more and study, but we could call this whole situation a kid who has and had no idea of the consequences of his own actions. And you could throw this to most of the kids, but his story specifically shows how much passionate he was about his dream from the beginning, regardless of what he's done. He could have easily used that money for music classes, or something, and hiding that from his dad. But you know how it goes. Speaking of which, Kent did respond to this question. Lewis was an angry child. Children, and most adults for that matter, aren't totally rational actors. I think this is actually a good thing to remember for all the characters, is that real people are not perfect logic in, logic out machines. They get upset, they don't consider all the factors, they act out of spite or hurt, and do not always choose what is the best possible action. Now, this alone explains a lot about Lewis, and now we know why he's here and what's up. But is his story worse than Violet's? Let's find out. Violet has always been a complex character, confused in emotions, having a hard time trusting others, and now that we're into episode 3, and we know both routes on how she's going to behave and react, understanding her backstory explains a lot about her character, and why she did whatever she did in that prison. Now, like earlier, without going into details, Violet's grandma died, actually killed herself right in front of a kid. She took the rifle, and oh my god, the story was so disturbing and depressing. But one thing that people aren't talking about much was Violet's reaction to all of this. She didn't even call the police or an ambulance, and she sat there the whole time, and her response to all of this was, and it's so interesting and it kills Valentine shippers, and clueless ones too, every time we hear that, besides, I just wanted to finish my cartoons. Like, wow, this all makes it so emotional. This explains her character, why she's so bitter. She had that problem from the beginning. Lack of interest, empathy, lack of awareness when it comes to these situations. All these points towards her character as we know it. That's why she was sent to the boarding school. She's always been her own person, staying with her grandma and watching cartoons most of the time. No interaction, no activities, just being her own self and her own closed-off person. She was sent to this school so she could change her closed personality, her mindset of being alone. That whole backstory triggered and changed her life in the worst way possible. If anything, it makes us feel so bad for her. It makes us like her even more. Now I know you guys are still mad for what she did, and there is a video for that coming very soon, but know this. Her story is definitely, well for us, it's worse than Lewis, and if anything, I think the writers did a really good job focusing on that element alone and went with it. That's why they didn't hurt Violet in that scenario. That's why they kept on going with that, and probably why she didn't come with us and stayed with Minnie. But then again, that's just our theory. The guy theory. Let us know what you think of all this in the comments down below. With that being said, if you enjoyed today's video and want to see more, hit that like button, and if you're new here, hit that subscribe button, and become an official member of SmackNPie. I'm Nicole, and until next time, take care and keep gaming. And also subscribe to youtube.com/NicoLet'sGoGaming. Bye!